Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
This movie is so impressively stupid. And I loved every second of it for its flagrant disrespect of anything resembling a cohesive plot. Welcome back to Nerd Academy Movie Club. Welcome back to the last part of our Dark Knight trilogy coverage. For the last piece of content of TNAP Bat Month. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Knight, Bachman Stubbs, and joining me, as always, is my Goodwill Robin, Devin Armel.
Thanks.
Hopefully Joseph Gordon-Levitt retired the ridiculous voice whenever he took over as Batman.
I do have my Nightwing colors on for this. So like my closest shirt to anything like that. Just pretend this is like a bird.
Whenever eventually, I want to get a new version of the mural.
Mm-hmm.
And because of this month, I at this point low-key want to make you Nightwing because I was going to switch from Spider-Man to Batman anyway.
I'm cool with that. I originally wanted to be the Flash.
That's right. You did say that before, yeah.
I don't think I ever answered someone about which comic suit or just suit in general I would prefer.
I mean, I asked you in like passing, but I also knew I was probably going to wait till this summer to pull the trigger on a new mural. So
I'm cool with that too.
Whichever works. We'll get there. But yeah, this is the final episode of Batman Month. Those of you listening, if you go back one episode in our feed, we had a lovely conversation with Alden Diaz of Octo Radio to talk about the philosophy of the live-action Batman, or at least the most recent three, Bale, Affleck, and Pattinson. That episode was a lot of fun. It's a long one. It's like a 2-hour show. So put that on. I think you'll find it insightful and funny. Absolutely love doing that. And like I said, this is going to be our last bit of Batman coverage. So I'm happy to get. I mean, obviously, more Batman.
Not forever, but
not forever. But this is the end of the block of programming. I decided somewhat on the fly was going to be almost exclusively Batman related for an entire month. But before we get into the episode, we have a word from our sponsors over at SundaysBloodyMary.com. You guys already know it's the best Bloody Mary equipment on the goddamn planet. I love me the award-winning spicy Caesar mix. It is my favorite thing. It is my live stream drink of choice. They got the mild mix if the spicy isn't for you. They got the vegan mix as well. A subscription box so you get 2 jars at a reduced rate every month. Rim salt, pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus, shot glasses, and assorted merch.
I see that hoodie at the bottom again.
What was that?
Those hoodies at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning at the beach. This crew neck says veggie wasted. I mean, I don't blame them just because overhead on clothing is difficult. They don't have any Jarod sizes. But trust and believe if they did, I would have a lot of Sunday's Bloody Mary merch as well. But again, overhead on clothing is difficult, especially when you're getting into those bigger sizes. So I don't hold that against them. But if you go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop, Use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout. You get 10% off your order, and you help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Devin, do you have some numbers for me?
Boy, oh boy, do I. I actually have some comparisons from The Dark Knight in here because I thought the box office results were incredibly interesting.
Ooh,
so The Dark Knight Rises,
do tell.
2012 release, 2 hours, 44 minutes long, directed by Christopher Nolan. Stars Christian Bale, Gary Oldman, Tom Hardy, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Anne Hathaway, Marion Cotillard. I feel like I totally butchered that. I'm sorry, Marion. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It has an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. An 8.4.
Okay, you said 87?
Yes. It has an 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb. 78 Metacritic. The budget for this movie was $250 million.
That was more than it cost to make Spider-Man No Way Home. By 50 mil.
It's a quarter bill. Okay, Warner Brothers. That budget is $65 million more than just The Dark Knight.
I can see where that money went.
Yes. And the box office is $1.08 billion, which is $76 million more than The Dark Knight. So budget increased of 65 mil, box office got 76 more mils.
And what year was this again? 2012, right?
Yes.
2012.
I just think that 250 million number is like staggering.
You want to get your socks knocked off with what was coming out then?
Sure.
We got Amazing Spider-Man 1, The Hunger Games, Django Unchained, Prometheus, Jack Reacher, Brave, Pitch Perfect, and the first Avengers. All coming out that year. Lincoln, Chronicle, Looper. Isn't that bananas? 2012 was a huge year for movies.
Really set the tempo going forward, huh?
MIB3, the most underrated Men in Black.
I haven't seen them enough to.
Taken 2, Electric Abduction-aloo. That deserved a laugh. Fuck you. Yeah, this is a wild year for movies. Also introducing a new little segment before we get into things. We're gonna do some log lines. Okay, we're gonna make up some shit you could put on the poster. Devin and I discussed maybe doing this as a segment. We weren't sure we were going to start it next month or this month. So Devin already had some locked and loaded for Dark Knight Rises. So boom, hit me. I'm full.
The Dark Knight Rises, The Dent Axe, Revenge. The Dark Knight Rises. Don't think too hard. The Dark Knight Rises.
He wrote that for me.
The Dark Knight Rises. A cleaner Gotham. A messier script. And my last one is The Dark Knight Rises. Alfred runs away.
I like that. That was a nice little subtitle there. I was trying to think during the intro. The Dark Knight Rises. Communism explained by an idiot. The Dark Knight Rises. We're not sure what Anne Hathaway thinks she's doing either.
When she's at the airport with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and she's like talking to her and her hands are cupped, her like one hand's kind of like on the handcuffs as if she's like trying sort of kind of to like get out of them or be prepared to.
I
And at
wish
the end of the scene, she just goes,
I meant to clip her punching that guy through her hat
I love that.
just to drop it in the middle of the show, and I didn't get a chance to. That shit's hilarious. The Dark Knight Rises. Heroism is most effective when it's a load of horse shit. The Dark Knight Rises. Just put that into text however you see fit. Just unintelligible Bane.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises, you just put the time code for whenever Miranda Tate just audio listeners, you missed out on that one. All that was missing was her like peeking her eye open to see if anyone was still looking. And
Roz just turned over in his grave.
So yeah,
what a movie.
What a movie. So here's my thing. I stand by what I said before that I think I do like this more than The Dark Knight still.
The fuck?
I had so much more fun with this movie. This movie is so much more fun. And you can't convince me that it isn't. You cannot convince me that this isn't more fun. Like,
I don't know. Like fun, yes. Like it almost has those so bad it's good tendencies to it, but it's because like it's a comic book and the previous two movies were like, you know, written a little better.
But it's not the writing. It's like it's the fucking writing. But like oh boy. But there's like this. So if Batman Begins was in a tenuous relationship with being a comic book movie, with its comic book roots. It loved it. It was open about its partnership. It didn't hide it. But like there was a twinge of like, yeah, okay. It didn't go out of its way to hide it. But if you didn't know, it wouldn't mind either. The Dark Knight does not want you to think about comic books at all. The Dark Knight is like is the aftermath of an ugly breakup between being a comic book movie and this comic book movie, trying so hard to make you forget that it's a comic book movie. The Dark Knight Rises is a messy, ugly, drunken hookup that happened between being a comic book movie and this movie. Where it's just like all of the best and worst things you can get out of a comic book movie are all here. The gang's all here. And it's batshit crazy. Like the level again, and we got into this with the Dark Knight episode, where there are moments of the Dark Knight that become really silly because it takes itself so seriously, and its main character is a billionaire orphan who dresses up like a bat. Right?
Yeah.
Fighting a clown terrorist. Like every so often you gotta go, wait, what? This movie is basically how we were joking about the third act problems that Dark Knight has, but for 2.5 hours.
That's fair. Yes, that's a very similar roller coaster experience to go on. Just one's longer, and
oh my god,
it's
like,
incredible
again,
that this movie's 15 minutes shy of 3 hours. And, like, it just still seemed like Nolan was trying to, like, shove more into it, but also, like, didn't wanna own it, like, didn't wanna fully send the things that he really wanted to be into it. He was just like and, like I don't know. I think there's a level of camp to this movie that, like
there is camp.
it's an
It's
incredible
not, you know what? I wouldn't even say camp. It's just silly. It's just silly. And if this franchise, like when I say I mean the Dark Knight trilogy, if this franchise had not tried so hard to be like, why does he wear a cape? Because it's a glider. Oh, well, he can't just throw a boomerang at somebody. No, they're little shurikens. Why does he have these fringes on his? Why does he have these little fringes on his arms? Because he's a ninja, and you never know when you're going to fight someone who owns a sword. And we have water vapor cannon thingies, and the Dark Knight's third act, the villain is the Patriot Act. You know, like it's trying so hard to be so serious and realistic, and then this movie goes, oh, you know how Bruce walks with a cane? Look at this magical leg brace. That scene where the guy from Reno 911 was like telling him about all of his physical ailments and was like, I cannot say that I think you should go hella skiing or like hella surfing or whatever like bullshit made up sport Bruce was pretending to be into. Bruce has no physical issues after he puts on that leg brace until Bane breaks his back. And then whatever like magical man in the cave just Bruce in the back enough times that his back is no longer broken.
Well, you think like the bomb took what, 5 months?
Yeah.
And they were like on the last day. So I think like more time.
And Bruce spent 3 months not able to fucking walk.
I don't know if they like let his back heal up and then just like put the vertebrae back into place, or if they put the vertebrae back and then he just did like standing exercise.
I don't know, but the shit was wild. It didn't make a lick of sense. And again, I would not care.
Nolan just
I would not
does,
care.
Like, time jumps weird sometimes. I like just watched Dunkirk, and like there's just some things that like, my God, especially in like Tenet too, but not in like the same way. But just like certain things, there's just like
Tenet.
There's just a little bit of like, when exactly did this take place? Like, am I connecting these dots right? Because like the transition between time, I feel like, and I love a lot of Nolan's movies. I love the thinky part of it. I love the like all the logic. Like it feels like Nolan would direct a kick-ass Star Trek movie to me if he didn't do
Here's
it
the
Dark
thing.
Knight style.
I've never been impressed by like that Nolan type stuff. It feels like Nolan is the type of person who tells you he's smart and then expects you to just go, ooh, every time he speaks. Like this movie, especially. And again, this is where, Chris, if you weren't so embarrassed of being a comic book movie, you could have just introduced shit like the Lazarus Pit. And have it be that Bruce dunks himself in the Lazarus Pit to heal. And no muss, no fuss. You have the perfect out.
That's a fountain of youth, though.
It's
a little too much for Chris.
I mean, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. I like
you and before anybody even says like, oh, if you do the Lazarus Pit, then there's no way to like then Ra's al Ghul has to come back. Not necessarily. He died in the heart of Gotham, and then that shit exploded. Reasonably, there's no reason why the League of Assassins would be able to get back to Ra's body. Done. Yeah. And then you can say that too much time had passed for them to be able to resurrect Ra's. Introduce new rules. No one cares. have fun with it. Like Bane. I legitimately believe, whitewashing aside, because that is a Caucasian man. I legitimately believe that Bane wearing a Darth Vader respirator makes less sense than super steroids. I legitimately think that the respirator is more fantastical than him just like roiding up. You don't have to have him turn into like a 10-foot hulking monstrosity.
Yeah.
But just have Bane with some tubes on, slap a button on his chest, the veins pop out a little bit more, and his punches hit harder. Because in this movie, Bane has his little respirator that he has because he got beat up, which is kind of nonsensical to me. Like, Darth Vader's whole body caught on fire, and he was breathing in lava and smoke for like 15 minutes. That makes sense that he has to have a machine that breathes for him because shit went in that should not be in there and broke his shit. I've seen a lot. Like there's a lot of people who have been jumped in the real ass world. I've never seen any one of them need a respirator because of it. You know what I mean?
Has to like be in his throat.
Exactly. Like
or
it
like
is
what's under that mask is truly terrifying. He got stomped in like the mask region a good like half dozen times.
But
Maybe
why does that? But so like, is the respirator? But then, what is the respirator doing?
it's because it helps him from not being in pain at every moment ever.
But why would it kill him to lose the mask?
I don't think it would kill him. I think he would just be in like incredible pain.
We hear him. He sounds like Vader when he's dying, when the shit gets broken fighting Bruce. Like he even has the noise happen. He's suffocating.
I don't know. Maybe when they
Talia
put the
al
mask on
Ghul
him.
stops to like plug shit back in to keep him alive for like the 10 minutes they have left before Gotham gets nuked. That shit was bananas. You cannot.
Not the best villain of the trilogy.
I think he's fascinating. He gives a mean monologue. I love the fight in the sewer, even though, again, my favorite part, Bane's weird Superman punch where he just like throws it between Bruce's legs and Bruce straight back. There's some fight choreography decisions that are bananas too. But again, Bane's like punching through stone walls. And Bruce, with his magic knee brace, like kicks a brick wall apart.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's bananas. And like, oh my God, I was going off about this in the audio commentary. So they needed Bruce's prince so that they could forge Wayne Enterprises, making weird stock choices during the stock market attack that caused Wayne Enterprises to lose a bunch of money. He sold all of his personal stock in Wayne Enterprises, but he sold it. So like he should get money for it. But they say that Bruce is now out of money. And that even though we all just watched what happened at the stock exchange, Daggett is able to move in immediately, even though I feel like there should be some amount of time to go, hey, we're not gonna like the FCC has to be able to be like, hey, we need to pause this merger because like in that. So that's just again, I don't know shit about stocks, but that doesn't sound right.
It's pretty incredible.
And then on top of that, Bruce loses his fortune in a matter of hours, and he lost so much money that the water, power, and heating company of Gotham just shut Wayne Manor off? Like that day. Like, did this happen on the 1st of the month? Where like they would have taken it out and they went, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne. You sold your company essentially. We're just going to shut stuff off now." And I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care if this movie, if this series was not so obsessed with realism. You know? Like if it wasn't for that, like if this was in BVS, okay, that's a bad example because that's already stupid. But like if this was in like an MCU movie where like we're kind of playing it fast and loose with like logic and real world nonsense, we're just kind of having fun with it, I wouldn't give a shit. Most people would not give a shit. But you set a precedent and now you were jumping in the opposite motherfucking direction of it. The internal logic of this trilogy is insane. And again, the character decision, and we talked about this leading up to doing this movie review, and we talked about it in the Batman episode we did with Alden that came out today at time of record. Again, this version of Batman giving up being Batman for those 8 years just doesn't work for me. It doesn't make any sense. It does not gel with the character that is established. And Bruce is like, I don't understand why Bruce, like, okay, I get that Gotham is like crime free right now, basically. So I get why Bruce is not active. But I don't think Harvey Dent died and miraculously new legislation was passed that rendered Batman obsolete. You know what I mean?
I really don't like that he doesn't do like anything. Like he's so out of it, he doesn't even know that the orphanage isn't funded anymore. Like I feel like first 2 movies, Bruce Wayne, especially Batman Begins Bruce Wayne, like he took steps, like brilliant steps into ensuring like not only that his company was like his whenever like he ended up being the majority shareholder, but also like I don't know, just funneling everything in the R&D department. And like, I mean, granted, that dude Coleman Reese in the second movie figured it out. However, Lucius put him in his place and everything was fine again. So
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I'm just surprised that Bruce let himself get like so bad. I'm also surprised that like his reasoning for doing that was Dent's death and Rachel's death. Essentially.
Yeah. But like, when did he retire? Like, was the night that he killed Harvey Dent the night that he hung it all up?
Yeah, I think so. He said they will hunt me, and like, sure as shit. As soon
no,
as
they
that
didn't.
was back.
But they didn't. He didn't. They didn't hunt him. They chased him out of that construction area.
Yeah, and then we
where
jumped
the bomb
8 years
went
in the
off.
future. I'm sure there were still like detectives on the case of like who the Batman is, but whenever Batman disappears, like the hunt is kind of like off.
It just doesn't work. It's super inconsistent. We are ragging on this though, and I do want to say I'm going to talk positively because we are just kind of clowning on this movie because I like it a lot. It's fun. I had fun with it, and like all of these stupid dumb things just become fun. This is the ultimate fuck you on Batman movie.
Definitely.
Where he just does shit like that doesn't make a lick of damn sense, and I love it. I love it. It is so much fun because it is just this one is unabashedly a comic book movie, and it may not be a well-written one, but it certainly is a comic book come to life. I really like Bane in this, both ironically and unironically. I enjoy Tom Hardy's performance here. I love the monologuing villain shit. I just Tom Hardy's Bane is iconic.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's iconic for any of the right reasons is another conversation. You have the mask, you have the voice, and not unlike how Batman 89 convinced the world that Joker killed Batman's parents. So many other versions of Bane that we've seen now have him talking like this. Because we just kind of convinced people Bane wears a mask like that and wears a big fuzzy coat and inexplicably is always holding on to his collar no matter where it might be placed. Which, like, I love how Tom Hardy didn't know what to do with his hands and Nolan didn't give him any direction. So, the whole movie, Tom Hardy is talking in this shitty voice, and there's some lines that you can't fucking understand at all.
It's a power stance.
Well, he's just literally like I just the fucking and like Tom Hardy is not a tall dude, so just like this like 5 foot something guy just like all over the place, just gripping his collar for dear life.
They shoot him from a low
thing. These aren't pajama pants, I promise.
They shoot him from a low angle a lot just to make him look huge.
Yeah. And like he's
he's muscular. With it,
yeah. I don't have a problem with it. It's just one of those things that once you notice it, you notice it. I made a joke about it. I like Anne Hathaway's performance in this movie. Because it's so over the top. Like
she does have like way more of like a Michelle Pfeiffer vibe than like Zoe Kravitz gave off for sure.
It's like a mix between Michelle Pfeiffer,
and Michelle Pfeiffer.
And I think it's interesting. Part of her performance, like again, it's a hyper flirty thing, you know. But also for a character like Catwoman, who is so infamously world weary, she's been burnt. She doesn't trust easily. She just kind of trusts everyone who talks to her. Like there's even the scene with Bruce. He was like, "You don't seem like someone who has a wool poured over their eyes very often." It's like, no, actually, she's just getting bullshitted every time she walks around in this movie. Every time she turns around, someone has fucking fooled this bitch. Like, she is not as slick as you are telling us she is.
She does dupe a lot of people on the way, too, though.
She does. But she gets lied to by Daggett about Clean Slate. She allows herself to get played by Bane into a situation where it's her or Batman. She gets...
I don't know, man.
Bruce fools her that he isn't Batman, which astounds me. That she bought the "I have a powerful friend" and like didn't go, huh? Y'all have the same chin. And again, I don't have a problem with like people not figuring out that Batman is Bruce Wayne, but when you show me a character who should be able to figure it out, like Lucius Fox isn't an idiot. Oh, he can tell. Like Bruce shows up, comes up with all these crazy ass requests, and then Batman shows up, and then Lucius Fox goes, "Oh, there's the tumbler." Like he gets it. He figures it out. The fact that Bruce literally invokes knowing Batman, which he never does throughout this. There is never like any of the like, you know, like in the comics, whenever Tony Stark would be like, "Oh yeah, Iron Man's my bodyguard," would do that type of shit. Like he never attempts that, and Bruce has done that in the comics before, where he's pulled it off. Now, granted, there is no Superman in this universe, but where he'll like have Superman put on the cape and cowl and walk next to him, so he can go, see me, Batman, same room. Who'd have thunk it? And throw people off. How did Catwoman fall for that?
I was starting to wonder, like, I wonder if Bruce wanted Selena Kyle to know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or if he didn't, maybe not that he wanted her to know, but he trusted that she would, like, not only figure it out, but, like, wouldn't really do anything about it. Because, like, Bruce doesn't have to play, like, the flirt game. I think he's got a hunch that she's, like, connected to all of this. Not even a hunch. She stole his fingerprints. But, like,
yeah,
a part of it might just be, like, not presenting myself as a total villain or, like, a bad guy to you so that I could use you. But then, like, I don't know. Maybe he also, like, deep down from the very beginning just kind of thought, like, you're good, but you're misguided. You can do more. I need your help, so I'll be, like, semi-real with you, and, you'll just figure it the fuck out, or Bane will tell you, and
yeah, it's just it's so weird,
making
and that's
excuses
another
for the
thing.
movie.
Again, and I feel bad because there's a lot of nitpicking going on here, but it's not nitpicking because again, like precedent set. Well, there gets to a point where almost every named character in this movie knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, except for James Gordon.
No, but I like that.
I
have no
kind
problem
of
with
don't. Bane knows, Talia al Ghul knows, Lucius knows, Alfred knows, Catwoman knows, Joseph Gordon-Levitt knows. And that was another thing. I misremembered that scene completely. I remembered that scene as Robin telling Bruce that he met Batman and saw through it and realized who it was. I completely forgot that the batshit crazy thing he says. He's like, "Yeah, I saw you doing your whole Playboy act, and I looked at you and went, that's an angry orphan." The Dark Knight Rises, angry orphans.
That conclusion, I think, is fair. The connecting it to Batman part, I think, even just like a line or two about like, and so I did some digging. I started looking into things a little bit more. I know who you are.
But it's just so wild that he goes from, oh, like this is an act to he has to be Batman. Is like a lot. That is a big jump.
It's also like, the city currently at that like particular moment kind of like fucking needs Batman. Jim Gordon's been shot. People are talking about an army underground. I buy that Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows up to this fucking mansion and is just like, okay, I might not be wrong. And then he starts talking about Bruce shit. And then like somewhere along the way, he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to Hail Mary past this thing because if he's not Batman, whatever. If he is Batman, he might listen and help.
Yeah, it was just a Hail Mary and he wasn't even sure. That'd be funny. Oh
my goodness, this movie.
I feel like I'm again, that doesn't feel in character for him across the rest of the goddamn thing. But anyway, everybody has either figured out or has been told that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
The way that Jim Gordon... Oh, okay, here's why I'll give it a pass. So the last thing Batman says to somebody is the way that Jim created Batman. And that in many ways, Jim Gordon is more responsible for Batman than Ra's al Ghul, and that's kind of the point of this story.
Wait a minute, Jared. I do not follow at all with how the coat over the shoulders line spawned Batman.
No, just that whole concept of like somebody's here to help you, and that like that moment of solace, how much that meant to Bruce. The fact that like that is one of the like that scene is just so important. It's the first time Bruce and Gordon meet, and that like it really does set in motion the chain of events. And that moment where he just says it to Gordon is so beautiful and so poignant. And I really hate that they do a flashback. I really wish they just left that there. But for that line of dialogue, I will let the insanity that Gordon's the only one who doesn't know pass. But yeah, I really like. I already forgot how to say her name. I'm pulling it up right now.
Marion.
Yeah.
Cotillard. Cotillard.
We'll go with Cotillard. I love her Talia al Ghul. I really like her in this movie. I think she has a standout performance. Like, you know, she's competing with a lot of people who are all throwing some heavy ass here. You know, like everyone's acting their ass off, but there's something really reserved about her performance that I like a lot. Again, the whitewashing issue with the Al Ghuls and Bane. We've said it. You know, we've you know stuck that flag in there. That is what it is. But yeah, no, I like that a lot. I wish the movie kind of had the balls to like throw in the Lazarus pit somewhere, anywhere, because I would have really liked. I don't know. I think you could have done this story as like a Revenge of Ra's al Ghul as well. And it's just one of those things that I don't think they ever would have done. Again, because there's like the caginess about, you know, really going in on the comic book movie stuff. The action is great. I think that kind of goes without saying. I like the slow drip reveal about Talia al Ghul and Bane. I think it's an interesting dynamic. And I wish more things got sequel comics. Because I would love a sequel comic about Dark Knight Rises. Because I think there's a really interesting story in here where it's a year of Robin Blake preparing himself to become the new Batman. And you have that year or two of him preparing and learning to do the things that Bruce did. And, you know, because of all of the chaos that happened, the streets are going to be full of crime again. And the city needs Batman to come back. But he can't because I think he's all dead. The myth of Batman living on. Like, we watched him get nuked. How's he back? How's he doing this? Oh my God. Like, that is like that fear that you strike into the criminal element is so Batman.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I'm sure you'd have people going, it's got to be a different guy. It's got to be a different guy. But like,
I think that's
matter.
like performance based. Like if say Robin's like a little sloppy, say he's got like a nice 4-week span of just being like
kind of trash,
kind of, you know, like kind of getting his ass handed to him, kind of like not leaving a footprint, but like his escapes aren't as like clean, shit like that. Like I think a lot of people will just be like, fuck this guy. Like, we appreciate it, dude, but also, like, get your ass at home.
I think there's an interesting story there.
But I think if he's really good, I think that you're right.
Yeah, and I mean, he already has like the training as a cop and as a detective.
Yeah.
You know, plus like he was turned into a soldier during Bane's occupation. So
yeah, I do think if he had like the resources that like Batman had, like the tech, that his like detective skills would be like pretty fucking solid.
And that's what I'm saying is that like that would be so cool. And people would be like, is he the same Batman? Is it new? Is like, what is it? Does it matter if he's new? It's Batman. You know, I think that would be really interesting. And again, as we talked about in that one episode of TNAP Maine, it's really interesting seeing Batman with like a definitive happy ending.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
We almost got like a Batman Beyond Bruce in the beginning.
Yeah, I see what you mean with that.
Which like we already don't like the 8 years retired type shit, the 8 years of just being a recluse type shit. But like it almost like outside of his archery habits, like and throwing balls at his mansion that he doesn't even go to, like yeah, like it feels very Batman Beyondy, and I don't like it. At the end of the first movie, we've talked about this in 2 reviews and 3 commentaries so far. He's already thinking about someone's got to take the cape eventually. Then like halfway through Dark Knight, it's like Harvey Dent doesn't even need to wear the cape. He can just do it. And then I don't know, maybe that's why he pushed Harvey off the ledge at the end.
He's like, no one's gonna do this. I've made up my mind. We're done now.
You took Rachel from me, and you know what? I'm giving you a twofer. You get Batman 2. And like I don't know. It doesn't feel clean. It doesn't feel like a Bruce Wayne that I would think is like a Bruce Wayne / Batman, like how I would think they handled it. Like Batman Beyond Robin is usually like the Batman that like has lost a Robin who fought consistently for 20 plus years. Alfred's dead of natural causes, hopefully. And like you know, he physically like there isn't any amount of like well, I guess there's like the Dark Knight like comic books, like Ben Affleck-y type.
But again, like, that's different. We're like but still then he's been retired for some time.
Yeah.
And still has been doing it for over 20 years. And the one thing that I think is really interesting, I think it's funny you brought it up because again, in that episode with Alden, he made a great point. There's an amazing scene in Batman Beyond with like the like mind control thing where Bruce isn't affected by it and Terry's like, "Well, why didn't it get to you?" And Bruce says, "Because Bruce Wayne isn't what I call myself in my mind." That is not who this Batman is.
No, it's not.
I don't think this Bruce Wayne, they say a lot of shit in this trilogy about how Bruce Wayne is the mask the Batman wears, and come hell or high water, he'll die the Batman, and all of these things, when that's nothing what Bruce is.
Bruce, in a very I feel like Bruce's never mind. I feel like Christian Bale's Batman did for Gotham due to extraordinary circumstance what the average Batman does in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Like due to the bad guys front loading so much shit. You know, vaporizing water supplies with fear toxin. That's a Gotham's gone moment. Blowing up a hospital and potentially 2 ferry boats, along with publicly
on top of all the other shit that Joker does.
Yeah. And that movie seems to take place within like what I would have to assume is like 3 weeks.
I'm not sure, but like, and it kind of piggybacking off of that as well. What we talked about in the Dark Knight episode, this Batman's only active for a grand total of 2.5 years.
Pretty much.
That's bonkers to me.
And he's already retired and has a successor.
Yeah.
This Batman saved the city from a terrorist attack. Good for you. Incredibly impressive. Also brought down like some real scumbags along the way.
Crippled
Saved him
the
from
Falcone.
a psychopathic terrorist and, prevented a lot of deaths. Again, good for you. Then he isolated himself to protect a politician's reputation. Let's give it a go for the bat. And then he once again saves the entire city from yet another potentially catastrophic event and like complete collapse of Gotham. A 6-mile blast radius of a nuclear bomb. That's like 87% of New York completely gone.
Yeah.
But also like, fuck you. You made Batman SEAL Team 6 times like, I don't know, what's a modest number for this? Like 18? It's just, I don't know.
And again, and I'm not going to say that, like, Batman doesn't fudge the truth in the comics or whatever, but there's also part of me that feels a little dirty about how much these movies are predicated on Batman lying to everyone. Like, Gotham lives a lie for 8 years because of Harvey Dent stuff. And then Batman, like, fakes his death only for another Batman to take his place. Like, it's just a little, like
it makes me feel like Bruce never really, really wanted to be Batman. Like, maybe, like, okay. He wanted to do good by the city, but because his parents were killed in, like, a gruesome way in front of his eyes, he wanted to take people down hard while he did it.
Yeah.
So, he learned all the fighting styles and he, like, souped up his brain. He wasn't going to let himself be beat physically or mentally. He's going to, like, fortify himself with armor and, like, these incredibly advanced vehicles and, like, tactical planning. He's determined to get the upper hand on everyone. But then, like, I don't know, he's back for all of, like, another 3 weeks and immediately gets sidetracked by Rachel and then immediately gets, like, caught back into it because it's Ra's al Ghul and the whole league. And he's just like, oh my God, I am so connected to all of this. Like, I have to do something. Feels real good about it. Saves the day. La-di-da. Ra's is dead. Rachel doesn't really want anything to fucking do with him. Outside of, like, I'm glad you're well.
He wanked for people listening to the
Oh yeah, thank you. But, like, I don't know. He's like, I am the Batman. Like, the Batman's dead. Rachel's dead. Like, I'm retired. Like, I have no purpose in moving on. Like, retirement's not retirement because my work wasn't done, but I also did the right thing because that's what needed to be done. It's just like,
but Alfred's also like, oh, well, you're just waiting for an opportunity to come back. And it's like, if he was waiting for an opportunity to come back, why did he let his body fall apart?
Yeah. He spent 8 years doing CrossFit.
Yeah. He could have done what Batfleck did.
He could have been on the sidelines to be, like, more than ready to deal with whatever came next should he be ready. He could have been helping the city as Bruce Wayne during the time, but then gone home and gotten like a 2.5-hour workout in and kept, like, caught up with what's going on in Ukraine. Like, he just doesn't. He's just limping around. I don't know how many years passed before he needed the cane. But,
it's just, it is my biggest issue. Like, I've gotten to the point where I care less about the whole embarrassed to be a comic book movie thing, and am more just perplexed with this movie and franchise that is so so obsessed with somewhat self-masturbatory conversations about like philosophy and justice for its Batman to be so confused with itself. But yeah, again, on the whole, I like it. I do like this trilogy. And I don't. I am slightly unhappy with the fact that our coverage has been mostly not mostly negative necessarily, but like I do think these movies get a pass that they don't necessarily deserve. Where like they just, at least The Dark Knight ends up being treated like it's beyond criticism, and I think that it's it could use a little bit of tough love.
I think the movies when they came out were like exactly what the film industry and public opinion needed them to be.
Yeah,
Because
I mean they saved Batman in the public eye. You can't. There's no getting around that.
But it also like spawned like, okay, here's this character. It's like it's kind of like silly looking, and like we've had some success in the past. It's like some great actors playing him and whatnot, but it's been very fantastical and whatnot. What if we took him and just like put a whole bottle of like James Bond sauce on top of it?
Yep, you're exactly right.
Eventually, they were just like, "Fuck!" I had too much sauce and tried to like scoop some back, but they got lost in the sauce and like
they got lost in the sauce.
I have to go to the bathroom so bad.
All right, well, we're bringing it home anyway. Devin, I mean, you kind of gave your final thoughts. Thoughts on the trilogy as a whole, if you have the bladder in you to do it, and letter grade for this movie.
As a trilogy,
or do you want me to go first so you can go to the bathroom?
No. As a trilogy, A-. It's right around like a 91%, whatever that comes out to be. I think it's an A-. The movie, because you're right, it is really fun, but it also like I thought it dragged a lot through some parts. There was a period of time where Christian Bale wasn't on screen for like possibly longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, that shit was wild. That was a fun part of the audio commentary.
That just like wasn't like cool for me. Like that was just like tick, 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 tick. Where is he? I know his back's fucked up, but like, where is he? Like, I don't know. B.
All right. I love this trilogy. Like I said, I do think it is slightly overrated and is not beyond reproach. However, it is revolutionary. It is iconic. I love all three of these movies for very different reasons. I do think it is an A trilogy, and I think this one is a B-, even though I like it more than the probably best movie in the trilogy. Next month, So Bad It's Good month for April, baby. Devin, you want to tell them what movie we're reviewing for our first episode of So Bad It's Good month, volume 2?
It's actually somewhat related to this movie, a nice little segue of sorts. We're going to be doing the 2004 Halle Berry Catwoman.
This bitch.
It's going to be a great time, guys.
I cannot wait to watch that movie, dude. I cannot wait to watch that movie.
It's gonna be a big nut bust.
Huge.
Sensational.
I'm just trying to make Devin laugh to make him pee.
That's cool.
Devin, do your plugs so you can go to the bathroom. I'll just bump you out so you can go.
All right, guys, you can follow me on Instagram at DevinJArmel and on Twitter at DevinArmel31. Please do. If I'd like to interact with people more regarding this stuff. So even if you don't like one of my takes, just be like, hey, you suck. And I'll be like, you're right.
You shouldn't have said that. Okay, Devin, go. I love you. Goodbye, buddy. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com. If you're feeling generous, you can also donate to our Patreon page.
Give me a dollar.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Nick Johnson, the Waffle Wizard, and Alex Jones's favorite ivermectin globalist consuming horse, I think. I can't remember Paco's name. I'll try to do it off the cuff. So bad it's good month next month. Number one contender comes out again this week. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of Bat Month. Again, Nick, Mitch from Comic Book Cast, and obviously the rest of our lovely team here for all of our Batman discussing. Big stuff on the horizon. Hopefully, Versus Series tournament will be happening soon. Again, sorry about the delay so much. I'm going to be either starting this week or next week in episodes. There's going to be a link tree. So if there's anything that you would like to see, be it our TeePublic or our Patreon, it will be all right there for easy access. May, Star Wars Celebration. I'm just going to get the word out early. I plan to be, barring acts of God, live streaming throughout Star Wars Celebration. It will be... Okay, I was making sure Devin was out of the studio because I didn't want him to accidentally jump back in. It's going to be through the Thursday through Sunday. I'll be doing live streams. I'll be doing reactions, all that stuff. That'll be Celebration, so tune in for all of that. Again, live throughout that whole weekend, we'll have our lovely fellow Star Wars content creator friends doing boots on the ground stuff that I'll be able to call them in for. It's going to be a lovely time, so be sure to stick around for all that. I've organized a lot of shows in the playlists. There is a playlist that is all of the TNAP and KNR reviews. So any movie and TV reviews we've done for the two main shows, post the move to, or not the move to YouTube, but our time doing video shows are all compiled there. So everything from like, WandaVision, Book of Boba Fett, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Mortal Kombat, stuff like that is all there. So like the season reviews and movie reviews. I also have a playlist for volume 1 of Star Wars month in the lead up to May, when we will be doing the prequel trilogy on Movie Club as well. So thank you all so very much for watching and listening. And after you ring the bell and rate and review, then you have my permission to cut.